Hey, welcome everyone. This is Ella San Jose with FIBI Live Chat on Friday, December 29th. And we have a very special guest on our last broadcast of 2017, the lovely Linda Pliagas from Realty 411. Say hi, Linda.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Oh,
How
my pleasure.
exciting.
Yeah, I'm so happy that we were able to have you come on the show. Just a little bit about Linda. She comes from a publishing background. She publishes Realty 411 magazine and hosts expos all over the country. And she's very, very busy. She's also an investor as well. And that's one of the things that I want to ask her about, too, is how she started her investment career. But let's talk about your inspiration for Realty 411 and the magazine and all the expos, and what caused you to have the inspiration to start this business?
Well, at the time when I started Realty 411 back in 2007, I was a referring agent, and my focus was referring clients here in California who wanted to invest in rentals around the country. So I was an out-of-state investor already. I was invested at the time in 4 different states, so I knew certain markets very well, and I had contacts in those markets. I just started investing out of state. I was successful at it, and people began to ask me if I would help them. So that's basically how I started my real estate career, and it led to the magazine because after I ran out of my circle, my sphere of influence, I sold my family, property, my friends, my colleagues, and after I didn't have anyone else to really market to, I said, maybe I can start a little magazine and I can have an ad in the magazine and get clients that way. And instead of paying for advertising elsewhere, I'll go ahead and invest my own money and start this publication. So I was actually my best advertiser when I started.
So as a way to be more efficient with your capital, you said instead of paying another advertiser, I'll just such a prolific publisher and have such a deep background in journalism. Now, it's interesting that you started out as a way to give service to your friends and family, and then what you've ended up happening is you've ended up creating a path for a lot of newer investors all over the country. Because I could imagine how daunting it is for a new investor to come on board and say, okay, this is what I want to do, but what's the first thing I should do to get started?
Yes. It is very daunting, and when I was doing it, I was on my own. I did my own research. I researched heavily because of my journalism background. I would get records from the Census Bureau. I would track economics and where people are moving into and where people are moving out of. And of course, I would go visit the location. Even before I would invest in an area, I was on, feet on the ground, doing research, meeting with local property managers, getting ready to make my move as an investor. So I was actually in the area even before I would go into escrow, simply because I had chosen that market as my sweet spot for investing.
That makes a lot of sense, how you were kind of boots on the ground. You wanted to make sure you knew that market inside and out, where a lot of people, they actually don't have the experience or resources to do that. So you're really kind of providing them a blueprint of how to invest if you're going to invest out of state.
Yes, and now there's a lot of wonderful turnkey providers that such as one of the Phoebe, founders, Matthew Owens, who is a turnkey provider. And there's a lot of wonderful companies out there that can help investors. But back when I was doing it, which was 2004, 2005, we didn't really have a lot of turnkey providers or resources at the time. So we're seeing a lot more choices, a lot more information, and I think that's always a good thing.
Right, right. Now, before we get further into, because I do want to talk more about the expos, but something that really caught my eye when I was reading your bio is how you got started as an investor. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Well, I knew I always wanted to invest in real estate or to have real estate be a big focal point in my life. As you probably read in my bio, my parents lost their home when I was very young. I was 15 at the time, and we were essentially homeless for a little while. And my mom and I had to go live with my grandmother while my dad got his bearings together and kind of, got another place and another employer and all that. So that experience was really traumatic for me, and it really changed me. I just knew that when I grew up, I wanted to be always have a roof over my head, first of all, and secondly, be financially successful so I would never have to go through that again, and nor my own children. So, real estate was really important. I was lucky that I met, um, my husband partner who's also interested very much so in real estate, and his family are very um, successful investors in Southern California. And, I got into it and I started from the ground up, which is I started as a broker's assistant, getting the coffee, making the appointments, making the copies that were needed. I got my license. I would show real estate. I would sit at open houses. I just wanted to get as much knowledge as possible. So my first deal, we didn't have any money at the time, so we acquired private funds from family that they didn't give us the money. They lent us the money as a private loan. Then we paid them, every month on their investment, and we were able to acquire our first deal with no money down that way. Within a few years, that investment grew and we had enough equity to pull the money out of it. We paid them off, so then we owned the property free and clear. But then within, we were lucky that it was California, and as you know, every 10 years, our property doubles in value. We're so blessed. So because of that, within a few short years, we had more equity and we pulled money out of the property again and invested in our first rental. So
Nice.
from that, we just continued and we followed that formula where we would wait for the appreciation to kick in and then pull money out of the investment and continue to acquire more real estate that way.
You know, I think this is important to kind of realize the context of this now. When you became an assistant, you had already been in publishing for a while. You already had kind of a very successful career, and you decided to change gears, right? So you took a pay cut, you kind of put your nose to the grindstone and started from the bottom.
I went from hobnobbing with celebrities like Jennifer Lopez to getting coffee for Hector in Culver City. But it was great because I learned so much about investing and about real estate. And, now the broker I was assisting, he's younger than me, by the way, and he's done close to $100 million in real estate right here in Southern California. He drives a brand new Rolls Royce. I mean, he's an incredible mentor. So I learned from the best, and I try and gravitate toward people that can really inspire me to reach another level.
A very good point, and I think we touched on this earlier, Linda, about when people ask me or ask you what's a good way to get started in real estate. I can think of no better way than to actually work for somebody that has a successful enterprise in real estate that's proven that you're actually getting paid to learn.
It's incredible. I mean, and it is, it can be a humbling experience, especially when you're transitioning from one career to another, one industry to another. Let's face it, you're not going to start at the top when you're entering into a new field and when you want to acquire knowledge in an industry. But if you're willing to humble yourself, to learn and really absorb the knowledge and be of service to someone, because you know what? Successful people, they need help. They need reliable help. And if you're there for them and absorb that knowledge, if you show up on time with the right attitude, you're going to go very far in life in general, but also as an investor in real estate.
I want to say that we have somebody out there. Scott Moyes is saying hi to you, Linda. He just wanted to say, hey, good to see you. Um,
Hi.
we always thank our FIBI audience for connecting with us on Fridays.
Thank
Um,
you.
Now we've got a couple of events coming up for Realty 411. One in Phoenix on the 20th of January. Santa Monica, right down the road from us, down here in Southern California, Santa Monica, on the 27th at the DoubleTree on 4th Street.
Yes.
Have one in Santa Clara on the 10th of February, and then another one in Atlanta at the end of February, on February 24th. So you're just like all over the country.
Oh yeah, and we already planned October 20th for my favorite city, Manhattan, New York. And then we're going to be, of course, in another favorite spot of mine, in the Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth area. We're planning an event there. Vegas. We'll be back in the Northwest in either Seattle or Portland. Um, I just love meeting investors and I love learning about markets, and every market is so unique and so different. And they have their own nuances. So it's really fascinating just to learn from people around the country.
Right, right. Now, would you say the best way to find out about Expo near you is to go to your website, the realty411expo.com? Is that the best way to find out what's coming up?
Yes, that is the best way to find out, realty411expo.com. And then just keep, up to date with our website. We also have realty411.com. I finally purchased that domain from the person that owned it before for many years. So, we try and keep them as up to date as possible. And we try and also add new articles and new blog posts at least every other day, just to keep people informed as to what's going on in the market.
Right. Linda, I was reading Bigger Pockets the other day, and I saw an article you wrote about how to network.
Yes.
That's a really underappreciated skill, because when you go to an expo like this, you want to make the most of your time, and you want to create some value for yourself and for others. What are, maybe a couple tips that you want to share with the audience about, okay, you're going to an expo, you're trying to network, what advice do you have for them?
Okay. Well, definitely have your business card, have information that you can share with other people. I would also give the advice to engage with others. A lot of people, when they go to networking events, it's all about me. I did this, I did that. But it's like networking is really sharing. So, be open to really sharing information about yourself, but also be opening to listening to other people and be engaged with them. If you're engaged with people, really present in the moment with them, they're going to know. And it's not about how many business cards you collect at the end of the night. It's about the engagements that are happening during that time and the possible business connections that can lead to other things in the long run.
Yeah, I agree. I would much rather walk away from a networking event with maybe 3 or 4 really high quality interactions than a stack full of business cards where I don't remember anything about the person.
Oh, absolutely. And, networking is about building concrete relationships. And I'm really happy with the fact that I've built a lot of long-term relationships in the business, people I've known for years. And that's a good thing. That's you want to build those long-term relationships, because just because you don't work with someone right now doesn't mean that in the future there's some sort of collaboration that you can't do together.
Another thing I wanted to mention, we talked briefly about how a new investor or just maybe a seasoned investor may be intimidated when people are talking about the number of deals they do and they feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not up to snuff. And this is just too much for me. And
Yeah.
you made a very fine point about how it only takes, sometimes a few little deals to really change your life.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll be honest with you, when I hear some of the numbers out there, even I get intimidated. I'm like, oh my goodness. They're doing hundreds of deals a year. But honestly, Ellis, a few great deals can make a big impact in your life. Imagine when you're retiring, having 2 to 3 single family homes that you own free and clear, that are bringing you money to supplement your Social Security. It can make a total difference in your life, and also in the life of your loved ones. You can leave that to your children, your grandchildren, a charity. I mean, it's really amazing. And like I said, we are so blessed to be living in California, because statistically, properties in demand areas in California do tend to double every 10 years. So we really, if we buy property, especially when we're young, and hold on to it, even if it pays for itself, but we just, hold on to that property, you will definitely see some nice appreciation and equity in the years to come. And also, investing out of state can give you the cash flow too that you need, possibly to get started if you can't do it in California.
That's a really good point because people talk about timing the market when it's really about being able to have holding power and time in the market and just kind of letting it work its cycles. If you have the wherewithal to have wisdom to purchase correctly and weather the storms, more often than not, especially in California where we're very lucky, it works out okay.
And to tell you the truth, that's exactly the same principle in stocks as well. The people that do the best are the ones that are holding on long term.
Warren Buffett's of the world, right?
Hmm.
That's a very good point. What other tips do you have for some new investors out there? Because you've seen so many people come through your expo and through your
Yes.
about I know you mentioned something about actually seeing property live and things like that. What other things, or expand on that, and then maybe add a few other tips that you might want to share with us?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, I want to stress how important it is for new investors to actually see the real estate that they're going to be buying. A lot of investors have called me after the fact, seeking advice for properties that they purchased online that they didn't see beforehand, and now they're stuck with them. They can't rent them out, they get vandalized and so forth. So my first recommendation would be, if you're going to be investing out of state, please go see the real estate before you purchase it. Make sure it's in a good neighborhood. Establish your contacts, your team, even before buying the property, because that's just, I mean, if you're going to be spending thousands of dollars, a $500 round trip weekend airfare, vacation, workation is not gonna hurt you. It's very important to do so.
Money well spent, absolutely.
Hmm.
You mentioned a team. Talk about a little bit the importance of some of the different players of the team.
Absolutely. A team is very important, locally and out of state. Ellis, I own rentals, a number of rentals here locally, only 25 minutes away, but guess what? I haven't seen them in a long time. And I have a manager, and they're only 25 minutes away, but I mean, I just don't have time to manage my own real estate, nor do I want to. I let the professionals do it. Yeah, because they know what they're doing, and in the long run, it's going to save me money. So anyway, that's one of the things that I do, but also your team locally, your team out of state. A team out of state is even more crucial than your local team. So you really need to meet the people, get to know them, and have backup, a number two, number three backup, just in case. But also be on top of it. Like right now, I know exactly how many vacancies I have. I know how long, they've been vacant. I keep in contact with my property managers. It's important to be an active investor and take responsibility and check in with your team too.
Very, very good points. And I know that what you shared with me is that your passion is so deep in your publishing that it's nice to know that you have that team set up so that you can pursue your passion. And want to share with the audience what you shared with me earlier about something that might be coming up very soon. That if you go to the Santa Monica Expo, they'll be doing some filming, right? So tell us about that.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that. About a year ago, through a mutual contact through my attorney, a couple of producers contacted me and said, Linda, we want to come up with an idea to pitch to the networks, and we want to come up with a real estate reality show. Will you help us? And I was like, sure, I think that would be a lot of fun. So they made me the executive producer, and I came up with the cast members. I was also responsible for coming up with the funds to make it happen. And it's a team effort. There's three main producers. There's four associate producer cast members. And we're actually going to be filming some B-roll at our event on the 27th of January in Santa Monica, which is also actually my birthday. So I'll be celebrating that with everyone. And I mean, what a way to kick off your birthday, making a dream happen that you never even expected, but it's a wonderful thing to happen. And, to share it with the people that I love and our readers, our fans. And we have people who have been coming to our events for many, many years, and now they have even more rentals than I do.
It works, right? You go to the expo, I like what it says behind you. It says read, learn, and invest, right?
Yes.
To good things to follow. Now, I think it's appropriate, since it's the end of the year, as we're saying goodbye to 2017 and saying hello to 2018, that we touch on the whole idea of goals.
Yes.
Now, you had a couple of very wise tidbits of wisdom about why it's important to set goals and how. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, I always write down my goals before the end of the year. It's something that I've done since I was a little girl, and I read how important it was to write down your goals. In fact, I believe maybe a grown-up at one point told me that I needed to start doing that. And basically, I learned from a very young age that, we can manifest our goals and make them realize, but we have to really believe in them. And one of the ways that we give life to our goals is by writing them down, by perhaps saying them out loud, maybe even having an accountability partner, whether it be your spouse, your friend, a colleague. But trying to bring your goals to life is something that I think is really important. And I've seen a lot of my goals come to life, and I attribute it to some of those techniques.
Very, very powerful. I think you're right.
Mhm.
Actually, make the commitment to write them down. And then I think taking it even up a notch further is having the accountability when you have an accountability partner that's that's supportive, right? You want somebody that's supportive in your goals. That's really
Oh, absolutely. You don't want anyone, even though they say if they're not laughing at your goals, they're not large enough. So maybe you do want someone laughing at your goals.
But I think you're right. I believe it was if it was a Harvard study or one Ivy League study where they actually monitored that, where they took a bunch of people and they had people actually write goals and the ones that didn't, and the numbers were astounding about how many people actually achieved them just simply because they wrote them down.
Wow, amazing.
And I know some people that they do this exercise where they write their goals down every month so that they'll actually write it down again because I bet there's some connection between the activity of writing it down and then to do it more often, and then obviously you look at it daily or weekly and you review it so that it becomes your fruition. Like one of the goals I had this year was to start a webcast, and here we are, right? So.
Yay!
Okay, so any particular goals you want to share with the audience, Linda?
Well, with that in mind, I want everyone listening to please write down your goals. Really focus on what it is you want to accomplish 1 year from now, 10 years from now. It will definitely make all the difference in your life. Also, continue to educate yourself. Um, that's very important in investing and getting ahead. But most importantly, enjoy the process. Enjoy time with your loved ones. Enjoy the learning curve. It's all there to help us get to that next level.
I think that's a very important point. Is that yes, you will run across some challenges, some discouragement maybe from time to time, but the key is to kind of get back on the horse and forward progress.
Absolutely.
I have a saying that I like to say to myself. It's called imperfect success. So there's going to be a lot of things that aren't going to go the way you planned, and there's going to be times when you feel like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did this, right? Or it didn't happen successfully. But if you keep moving forward, there's going to be a success, even though it's.
Absolutely.
So as we go into 2018, any last words you want to say, Linda? And we'll close this out. And I want to say thank you again to our audience for joining us, and we'll be doing Friday in 2018 as well.
Well, I just want to say to everyone to continue to try and, get to that next level and obtain your goals. It's important. And, just believe in yourself. That's so important. We all have negative voices, but believe in yourself and it will come to pass. Work hard, it will materialize.
Good words of wisdom. And also, I wrote down a goal today. I want to finish 10 books this year.
Wow!
I have actually a head start because I have this really cool app where I can listen to books that are book summaries. So I listened to 2 this week already, so I have 2 books out of the way, and but I'm going to continue it and do 10 more, at least 10 more or more for 2018.
Oh my goodness.
So I want to thank you again. So happy that you were able to join us. I really enjoyed chatting.
Thank you, Ellis.
Hopefully I'll be able to get out to Santa Monica. It's not too far away from me. And
Oh, we'd love to have you. Hope you can join us.
too. So we'll be signing off. Thank you so much, and
Yeah.
have a wonderful 2017 and a prosperous 2018. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Good luck. Happy New Year.